Good morning everyone and welcome to the class. We are doing the chapter Constitution, Why and How, and under this chapter we are discussing the factors which make the Indian Constitution very powerful, respectful and effective. And in this regard, in this context, we are discussing that this Constituent Assembly was actually, it inherited the ideas from the nationalist movement, which formed the background for the making of the constitution, because so many diverse groups were there in India. And it was not only this time, the period of this 2 years, 11 months and 18 days, that the whole constitution is being made. Actually, we can see that the process of making of constitution was started during the nationalist movement, because the principles on which our nationalist movement was based, actually those principles became the background for this constitution making. Okay, and we have also seen that on 13th of December this objective resolution was 13th December 1946, objective resolution was passed by Pandit Nehru, in which it is stated what is the aims of the assembly. This objective resolution defined the aims of the assembly. And as we have started our discussion regarding this, like the main points of objective resolution. The first point is India is an independent country. Okay, you know the meaning of independent. There should not be the country should be free. All the decisions should be taken by the government of the country, the government which is formed by the people of the country. That is independence. And the second thing is sovereignty, which we were discussing. So there are two aspects of sovereignty. The first aspect is internal and the second is external. Internal aspect, sovereignty in internal aspect means that the government is the government of India is all powerful, ultimate powerful. No one can give instructions and orders to the government of India. But here you must understand that government of India is there in power only for government of India is formed by a political party, and this political party is there because it has got the majority of the seats in the Lok Sabha. And after a fixed time like 5 years, this party will removed from power, and now fresh elections will be held, and in this fresh election, whichever party gets the majority of the seats will form the government. So in this way we can say that the government is not ultimate powerful. Who is ultimate powerful? The people, the common people of the country are the ultimate powerful. Okay, and then we see that external aspect of sovereignty. It means that the country is the country's authority is ultimate in external aspects also. Like any country that may be very powerful, like US, which is the most powerful country in the world at present, but still this country also cannot give us instructions and orders. Even international organizations respect the sovereignty of the people, sovereignty of the countries. So this is external aspect of sovereignty, and it was declared by this objective resolution that India will be India is an independent sovereign republic. So now we see what is the meaning of republic. Republic, when the head of the state is elected. He may be elected directly, he may be elected indirectly, but he or she must be, the post of this head of the state must be elected, and it should not be hereditary. If the head of the state is hereditary, it means that the country is not a republic. The country is still under the hereditary rule, so it is not a republic. Okay, so what is important for republic? That the head of the state should be elected. And if we consider our country, in our country the head of the state is president. Here you must understand the meaning of state. जब भी हम स्टेट बोल रहे हैं तो इससे हम क्या मीन करते हैं? इन पॉलिटिकल साइंस वी मीन स्टेट एज कंट्री. साधारण बोलचाल में जब कोई लेमैन बात करता है तो वो कंट्री का मतलब वो देश होता है, और स्टेट का मतलब जैसे यूपी एक स्टेट है, मध्य प्रदेश है, बिहार है, झारखंड है, दीज आर द स्टेट्स. But in political science, what you see that in order to be a state, 4 elements are required. This is not in your syllabus. It all these all things you have read in class 8. Still, I am repeating it because it will come every now and then you will get confused कि state हम किसको कह रहे हैं, है ना. तो ये चीज़ें एकदम बेसिक चीज़ें हैं जो कि बिल्कुल क्लियर होना चाहिए. तो स्टेट जो है उसके 4 एलिमेंट्स होते हैं. सबसे पहला जो एलिमेंट है दैट इज population. Okay, and the second element is territory. The third element is government. And the fourth element is sovereignty. ओके, तो दीज आर द 4 एलिमेंट्स. इसको थोड़ा सा एलेबोरेट करके मैं बता दे रही हूँ ताकि ये चीज़ें आपकी हमेशा के लिए क्लियर हो जाए. पॉपुलेशन होना स्टेट के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है ना. लोग होंगे तभी तो स्टेट होगा. तो फर्स्ट थिंग इज़ पॉपुलेशन. द सेकेंड थिंग इज़ टेरिटरी. ये जो पॉपुलेशन वो एक पर्टिकुलर टेरिटरी में रहती है ना. तो इसको हम लोग कहेंगे कि पॉपुलेशन के लिए एक तो पॉपुलेशन हो गया, पॉपुलेशन के लिए टेरिटरी चाहिए. फिर जब लोग कहीं पर भी रहेंगे तो क्या होगा? उनके बीच में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स होंगे. ऑब्वियसली जब भी जहाँ पर भी लोग रहेंगे तो उनके बीच में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स होंगे, इंटरेस्ट का क्लैश होगा. एंड दिस मेक्स इट इम्पॉर्टेंट टू हैव अ गवर्नमेंट विच कैन मेंटेन लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, है ना. सो गवर्नमेंट इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट एलिमेंट ऑफ द state. And the fourth element is this sovereignty. It means that the country, the government is supreme. The government has the supreme authority internally as well as externally. इसके ऊपर कोई और नहीं है, कोई और उसको इंस्ट्रक्शन नहीं दे सकता. अगर अब हम लोग इसको अपने यूपी स्टेट के साथ कंपेयर करते हैं तो व्हाट वी फाइंड, अगर यूपी स्टेट को देखें तो यूपी में यस पॉपुलेशन इज देयर, है ना. पॉपुलेशन है, वो एक पर्टिकुलर टेरिटरी भी है, यूपी का अपना एरिया है ना, जो कि हमको मैप पे दिखाई देता है. देन यूपी की गवर्नमेंट भी है, ठीक है. बट दिस गवर्नमेंट इज सॉवरेन? नो, द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ यूपी इज नॉट सॉवरेन बिकॉज इट कैन बी गिवन इंस्ट्रक्शंस फ्रॉम द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, है ना. सो यूपी गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट हैविंग this sovereign power, and because of this what we find that UP is not a state in political science. UP is not a state, India is a state, ठीक है. लेकिन हम लोग लेमैन जो है वो इस तरह से बोल देते हैं, यूपी को स्टेट मानते हैं. बट हम जब भी किसी भी डिस्कशन में हेड ऑफ द स्टेट बोल रहे तो इसका मतलब कंट्री का हेड. हमारी कंट्री का हेड कौन है? द हेड ऑफ द स्टेट इज प्रेसिडेंट, है ना. एंड एक्चुअली 2 हेड्स आर देयर. अभी आगे इसको भी पढ़ना है आपको. यहाँ पर इतना समझ लीजिए कि वी हैव 2 हेड्स. वन इज फॉर्मल हेड एंड द अनदर इज इनफॉर्मल हेड. फॉर्मल हेड का मतलब क्या हुआ? जिसको कि साइन करना है केवल, ऑर्नामेंटल है, इट हैज़ नो रियल पावर, है ना. द प्रेसिडेंट हैज़ नो रियल पावर. सो ही इज देयर एज द हेड ऑफ द स्टेट बट ही इज नॉट हैविंग एनी रियल पावर. एंड the second is the second head of the state we can say is a PM, Prime Minister, who is actually taking decisions, who is having the real powers. Okay, so for republic it is important that the head of the state should be elected. And now if we see the condition of that Britain, in Britain kings and queens are still there. The head of the state is king, monarch, चाहे क्वीन हो चाहे किंग हो, that doesn't matter, gender doesn't matter. The head of the state is monarch. It means that this Britain is not a republic. India is a republic, but Britain is not a republic. Okay, so this is the first point which we have discussed about this objective resolution, and now we will see the next point. So this in second point we see that it is said that India shall be a union of erstwhile British Indian territories, Indian states and other parts outside British India and Indian state as are willing to be a part of the union. So India shall be a union of it shall be a union. Okay. Second thing about this objective resolution is that India shall be a union. Union of what? Union of British Indian provinces, है ना? Then the princely states, and इन दोनों के अलावे भी कोई भी पार्ट जो कि इंडिया के बाहर रह रहा है, बट है बाहर के है, लेकिन ये इंडिया का पार्ट होना चाहता है, तो उन सबको मिला करके इंडिया का एक यूनियन बनेगा. ठीक है, ये बात भी कही गई थी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली में. और ये जो यूनियन की बात हो रही है ना, this is the reason our constitution is has federal character, but this federal character is imbibed in our constitution in such a manner that the center has been made more powerful, because ये union का concept है ना, कि सबका मिला करके एक जैसे संघ जिसको हम कह सकते हैं बनेगा, है ना. तो ये बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट था. इसके अलावे जो और भी चीज़ें हैं उसमें हम क्या देखते हैं कि जो टेरिटरीज़ हैं जो यूनियन को फॉर्म कर रही हैं वो ऑटोनोमस यूनिट्स होंगी, जिनके पास बहुत सारे पावर्स होंगे. वो अपने पावर्स को एक्सरसाइज करेंगी, फंक्शंस करेंगी, एंड जो भी यूनियन को दिया गया है उसको छोड़ के बाकी सारे जो हैं वो किसको दे दिए जाएंगे? टेरिटरीज़ को, यानी कि स्टेट्स को. यहाँ पर किसकी बात हो रही है? यहाँ पे डिवीज़न ऑफ पावर की बात हो रही है ना, कि जो भी टेरिटरीज़ हैं जिनसे कि यूनियन बन रहा है वो ऑटोनोमस यूनिट होगी, मतलब उनके पास अपना पावर होगा. ऑटोनोमस यूनिट की बात की गई इसमें, और वो अपने पावर और फंक्शंस को एक्सरसाइज करेंगे. बस कुछ पावर्स जो है वो यूनियन को दी जाएंगी. तो सेकंड में हमने देखा कि यूनियन कहा जा रहा है, और थर्ड में फेडरल कैरेक्टर की बात की जा रही है. Okay, and then we see next point in this objective resolution is that all powers and authority of sovereign and independent India and its constitution shall flow from the people. This is very important because people is the main source of power. Ultimate power lies with the people. As I told you that it seems that the government is all powerful, but the government is not all powerful, because whichever political party has formed the government, because that political party has got the majority support. The moment it loses the support of the majority, or when it completes its tenure, then again it has to go in front of the people for vote. So it is people who are the real powerful. The source of power is people. This was also said. And now we come to the next point. In next point we see that all people of India shall be guaranteed and secured social, economic and political justice, then equality of status, equality of opportunity, equality before law, fundamental freedoms like freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of belief, then freedom of faith and worship, then freedom of vocation, association and action. So all these will be given to the people of India. Then only we can think of the establishment of a just society. So all these are given in our fundamental right, the part 3 of the constitution, which deals with the fundamental rights. All these are given there. And next is about okay, next is about this territorial integrity of the republic, and its sovereign rights on the land, sea and air shall be maintained according to justice and law of civilized nations. So what is important? It is important to maintain the integrity of the country, the sovereignty of the country, and it will be maintained according to the justice and law of civilized nation. So the next point is maintaining integrity and sovereignty of the country. Okay, and the next and the last point is the land would make full and willing contribution to the promotion of world peace and welfare of mankind. This is very important because our country, in our this directive principle of state policy, this provision is there that India will contribute for international peace and security. So this is also given in the this objective resolution that for the promotion of world peace and welfare of mankind, India will contribute its complete India will contribute willingly. So these are the important points of this objective resolution. And now we see that one of the another reason why our constitution is so powerful, why our constitution is so respectful, is the institutional arrangements. So now we are going to discuss that topic, institutional arrangement. Institutional arrangement. So now we see that why the constitution is effective is that in our constitution there is a balanced arrangement of the institutions of the government. This is very important because the government must be democratic and it must be committed to the welfare of the people. And how it can be ensured that the government will remain democratic and it will remain committed to the welfare of the people. For this, the members of our constituent assembly, they spent a lot of time and on involving the right balance among different organs of the government, among different institutions of the government, so that there should be a balance, and this balance will lead to establishment of a stable democracy and a welfare country. So in our country, through this constitution, we adopted this parliamentary form of government and federal arrangement. So the first thing about which you need to have some knowledge is a parliamentary form of government. Parliamentary एंड सेकेंड दिस जो इंस्टीट्यूशनल डिज़ाइन किया गया बहुत ही बैलेंस वे में, वो क्या है, फेडरलिज्म. So first of all, what is the meaning of parliamentary form of government? Parliamentary form of government is that government in which the executive and the legislature are closely connected to each other, है ना. क्योंकि what happens that the party which gets majority in the lower house of the legislature is given the opportunity to form the government. तो executive जो है वो legislature का ही एक हिस्सा है ना. And it is very much important, it is compulsory for the prime minister and the other ministers that they must be a member of any of the houses of the legislature. If they are not the member of any of the houses of the legislature, then they will be given a time of 6 months, है ना. or within 6 months they have to get that this membership of the Lok Sabha और राज्य सभा, है ना. तो they are closely associated. इसके अलावा जो executive होती है उस वो that is collectively responsible towards the legislature. तो ये होता है पार्लियामेंट्री फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट, जिसमें कि हर ऑर्गन के बीच में, जो तीनों ऑर्गन है उनके बीच में एक बैलेंस मेंटेन करके चला जाता है. इसी तरह से अगर हम आगे देखते हैं, फेडरलिज्म को देखते हैं, तो उसमें हम क्या देखते हैं कि फेडरलिज्म के अंदर भी 2 लेवल की गवर्नमेंट होती है जिनके बीच में पावर का डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन होता है. एंड दिस डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ पावर इज डन बाय द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इटसेल्फ. सो इफ देयर इज नीड टू चेंज this power distribution of power, it cannot be done by any of the government at any level. Neither the state government nor the central government has the power to change the distribution of power that is given in the constitution. For that purpose there will be need of an amendment, है ना. So this is federalism. So in this way the effort is done to the effort is done to arrange the institutions, arrange their powers and functions in such a manner that there should be a balance, है ना. There should not be a situation in which the government can misuse its power, the government can become undemocratic. And in this context you must understand that when our constituent assembly, the members of our constituent assembly were very much concerned about evolving a balanced governmental arrangements, they tried to learn from experiments and experiences of other countries. So the framers of constitution were not thinking that they will not borrow anything from constitutional traditions, whatever constitutions were available at that time. And we were in 1950s, and this was the time, late 1940s, and this was the period by which most of the countries were having their constitution. So we had an opportunity to see to gain from the experiences of other countries. So our constitution makers were very much they were showing willingness to get something from the experiences of other countries. And that is why we see that in our constitution so many provisions were added from the various constitution. But it's not like that ki, all the provisions were added in without making any changes. Whatever circumstances were prevailing in country, whatever was the need of the time, according to that changes were done in the provisions of the constitution of other countries, and then only they were adopted, and that is why it is still successful. So borrowing was there, but it was not simple borrowing, है ना. सबसे पहली चीज़ तो हम ये कहेंगे कि इसमें एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन बनता है, जो कि इसको तो क्वेश्चन हम लोग कल की क्लास में डिस्कस करेंगे. यहाँ पर एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन बनता है कि वाई इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज कॉल्ड अ बैग ऑफ बोरोइंग. So it is called a bag of borrowing because it has borrowed so many provisions from different constitution, but it will not be it will not be appropriate to say Indian constitution as bag of borrowing, because the first reason is that the constitution of India was made in the late 1940s, and this was the time by which so many countries were having their constitution. So it was not possible for the constitution makers to make something such a constitution in which all the provisions are new and unique. The purpose of the constitution making was not to make a unique, a completely new constitution, but the purpose was to make such a constitution which should work. So we were required to gain from the experiences of other countries, and this was done by borrowing the provisions. Okay, and the second thing is that the borrowing of the provision was not only that all the provisions were borrowed without making any change, without considering the circumstances of India. नो इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट, है ना. जो भी चेंजेस लाया गया उसमें वो समझ के कि जो भी इंडिया की कंडीशन है, सर्कमस्टांसेस, उसके अकॉर्डिंगली उसको चेंज करके अपनाया गया, और इसलिए हम इसको बैग ऑफ बोरोइंग नहीं कह सकते हैं. अभी हम देखेंगे नाउ वी विल सी कि व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट provisions which were adopted in India from different countries. Like we were under the British rule, है ना, and the British constitution was, as I told you, it was an unwritten constitution. Still the constitution is there, है ना. स्कैटर्ड है, जो भी रिटन पार्ट्स हैं वो बहुत सारे स्कैटर्ड है, बट स्टिल इट इज़ देयर. तो हमने क्या किया कि ब्रिटिश कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन से बहुत सारे प्रोविजंस को हमने अडॉप्ट किया. जैसे फर्स्ट जो हम देखते, पहली चीज़ जो हमने ब्रिटिश कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन से अडॉप्ट की वो था फर्स्ट पास द पोस्ट सिस्टम. Indian Indian constitution is a bag of borrowing. So first of all, what are the provisions which are borrowed from different constitutions? So we see that from the Constitution of Britain, okay, from the Constitution of Britain, so many things were adopted, provisions were adopted. Like first is first past the post system. This is a type of election system which we will discuss in the in the following chapters. So in this we will see that so many candidates are there in a political party, whichever candidate gets majority, he becomes the winner. So this is the system which is adopted in our country, कि जो भी जिसको भी सबसे ज़्यादा वोट मिले, कोई कोटा नहीं है कि इतना वोट आपको मिलने चाहिए, जिसको भी सबसे ज़्यादा वोट मिला वो बन जाता है, जीत जाता है. इसी को अभी हम लोग एलाबोरेट करेंगे, बहुत ज़्यादा पढ़ना है इसके बारे में. अभी उसको जब फॉलोइंग चैप्टर्स में आएंगे तो हम लोग उसको डिस्कस करेंगे. So this is all for today. We will continue with this discussion in the next class.